Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
For a hot minute back in the early 2000s, a friend of mine and I owned a mobile phone business, or we had a dealership, I guess, is what we had. It was not bricks and mortar. You didn't have to have one. We had stumbled upon it. I had stumbled upon it in my networking, and came back and talked to my friend Tim about it. And I'm like, this sounds like an interesting opportunity. And we're both, I guess, somewhat serial entrepreneurs, and we just kind of jumped in. And again, it didn't last long. I have AmSpirit Business Connections. He has lots of things, and it was just kind of complicated. You can, an eagle that chases two rabbits catches none, right? So we didn't last, but maybe a year, 18 months into the venture. But as part of it, he had a friend. She was, from all appearances, was outgoing, right? I mean, to look at her, she always carried a confident stature, a smile. It's like, okay, wow, this, she could sell to anybody. She could approach anybody. And we were dead wrong. And that's not a disparaging comment on her. We were wrong. It's just that wasn't what she was about, and we quickly figured that out. That and again, we all have our skills, and that was not her skills. She was very organized. She was good at doing the things she was good at, but she was not good at getting out and kind of being in people's faces and taking rejection, if you will. A lot of us are like that. So again, it's not disparaging towards her. It was really our failing. To be perfectly honest, we had just simply judged her on appearance, and we had known her. He had known her more than I had, but we were dead wrong. We were dead wrong. I bring that up because I read an article in Psychology Today. It's a magazine, dates back to July, August 2022, and the title of it is "The Problem with Split-Second Judgments." And what the article goes on to explain is that we are pretty bad at making these judgments. We're pretty bad at making judgments, looking at somebody and making a judgment. Now, here is somebody that my friend knew for several years in a different setting. They had worked at a larger company together, and I had gotten to know. So it wasn't really a split-second decision, and we were wrong. We were just flat wrong. I can only imagine what split-second decisions would lead us. And that's what the research tends to show is that when we make split-second judgments about people, reading their characteristics, we're really no better than just guessing, is really what it comes down to. And if you stop and you think about it, well, at least for me, it's not terribly surprising. As humans, we started out, we were very nomadic, and then we got into tribes, and those tribes were not terribly large. I mean, they were 150 people, and there's a reason for the size there. Just basically that's what our brains can handle, is being in communities about that size. And our networks, there's research that shows our networks are not much bigger than that. And much of our lives, this is for thousands and thousands of years, were thousands and thousands of years of human development, were spent in these tribes, and you didn't see outsiders, and when you did, it generally wasn't a positive experience. And so now we've moved from tribes into larger villages, cities, towns, whatever, municipalities, metropolitan areas where there's lots and lots of people, and we're not forced, but we encounter strangers the need for split-second judgments comes up more and more often. So it's not a skill that's readily developed with respect to humanity, if you will. And what they talk about in the research is that when people judge others, they generally their facial appearances, they generally do it on three dimensions, three characteristics: morality, competence, and social ability. Morality is the goal. The goal of morality is to judge someone's trustworthiness, to figure out whether they're likely to help or harm us. And that's the morality aspect of it, and that's important. And I think we probably will opt to not give someone the benefit of the doubt in that situation, because just our lives, certainly back in the day, depended upon that. Our safety depended upon it. Here, it's more. You're not getting in a car with a stranger anyway, whether no matter what they look like or shouldn't. But it's less perilous in this day and age, if you will. Competence is determining whether somebody is skilled, and you want to know those things, especially if it's somebody who's, well, a surgeon or a financial advisor or an attorney. You want to know that somebody's competent, and so you want to look at them and say, okay, yeah, they're competent. I want them to represent me in court or do my taxes or perform open heart surgery. You want to be able to look at somebody and say, okay, I'm comfortable surrendering to this person. So there's morality and competence. And then the last is sociability. Are they warm? Are they somebody that we can approach and be comfortable having a conversation with, being at a party with? We like to think we're good judgments of people's character, their personalities, based on looking at them. And I find myself second guessing decisions, and often I'll make a decision. I'll take action based on to do business with somebody or not do business with somebody, and then I'll wonder about it. I don't lose sleep necessarily over it, but I wonder if I've made a good decision. But what I try to do is I try not to make that judgment right away. I try to think on it and not overexpose myself, right? I'm not committing myself to tens of thousands of dollars. That's where testing of somebody can come into play. Okay, I'm going to have coffee with this person. I'm going to try and learn about this person. Is this somebody that when there's a disagreement we can figure out a common ground, or is this somebody that if there's a disagreement and maybe I need to not be critical of them necessarily, but kind of coach them up on how things are going or my feelings on it? Are they going to blow up at me? Those are all things that really come into play. Again, we like to think that we're great at judging people, but we're not. And, understanding this, we need to really stop and think about how we're engaging people. There's probably, like with musicians, like there's the show out there called The Voice, where they essentially have the coaches, the musical coaches, turned away from the person, so you can't see the person. You're just going to listen to their voice. Do they have a good voice or not? I'm going to judge them based on their performance, ability to carry a note, or carry a tune, carry a note, whatever. I don't know the difference. I'm not in that business, but you know what I'm saying. Judge that without knowing what they look like, because once we know what they look like, then all of a sudden bias starts to set in. It's like, okay, this person looks competent. They look trustworthy. That's the morality aspect. They look sociable. They look like somebody they would be fun to work with. Or do they, kind of have a scowl on their face? And some people just people refer to it as a resting bitch face. And those things can be dead wrong, right? I mean, somebody might have that RBF, resting bitch face, and be just a wonderful person, but that's just how their face is built. Again, like the person I had mentioned earlier, it's like, just looking at this person, wow, she'll be great at this, she'll be great. And in reality, It wasn't that she was horrible at it, just really wasn't her skill set. And we were dead wrong. And it wasn't her fault, we were just dead wrong. So the lesson in all of this is that don't make split-second decisions about people. At least not lasting ones. You're gonna, I mean, it's a natural tendency. You're gonna look at somebody and make a decision or make a judgment about them, but give yourself the space and give them the grace that you can learn more about them and recalibrate your judgment based on really who they are, whether that's good, better, or worse what your original judgment is.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.